I knew something was wrong the moment the old woman's hand closed around mine. Her skin felt paper-thin but strong, almost urgent, and when I looked up, her eyes were sharp in a way that made my stomach twist. We were sitting only a few feet apart in that crowded restaurant, two strangers surrounded by clinking glasses and soft music, yet the world suddenly narrowed to just the two of us. She leaned closer, pretending to adjust her purse, and slipped folded bills into my palm. "Call an Uber and get out of here," she whispered. "Now." For a second I couldn't breathe. My husband, Thomas, had only stepped away to use the restroom. We were supposed to be celebrating our first romantic dinner in months. I'd even put on the pearl earrings he gifted me years ago, the ones he said made me look young again. And yet here I was, staring at this stranger who looked absolutely certain that I was in danger. Why would you say that?" I murmured. My voice shook and I could tell she noticed. She didn't blink. "You don't see it, do you?" she whispered. "Men like him don't bring women like you to fancy places out of love. He's watching you, even when you think he isn't." My heart pounded so hard I felt it in my throat. "Ma'am, I don't understand." "Yes, you do," she said. Her tone softened but her urgency didn't fade. "Look at the way he holds your elbow when you walk. Look at how he orders for you. Look at how he checks your phone when he thinks you're not paying attention." She paused, her eyes searching mine. "Has he asked you about your will yet?" I froze. Hearing a stranger ask me that, so casually, so confidently, felt like someone had just ripped open a curtain I didn't even know was there. I hadn't told anyone about those conversations. Not my sister. Not my doctor. Not even my closest friend. Thomas had been pressing the subject for weeks, insisting it was responsible planning. But this woman said it like it was obvious. I swallowed hard. "Who are you?" I asked. My voice came out smaller than I intended. "Someone who learned too late," she said. "Someone who should have run when she had the chance." Before I could ask anything else, Thomas reappeared, walking toward our table with that smile he always used in public, the one that never reached his eyes. The woman straightened up in an instant, her mask sliding on so seamlessly that I almost doubted everything she had just told me. "Everything okay here?" Thomas asked, placing a hand on the back of my chair. His fingers pressed down a little too firmly, a little too possessively. "Yes," I said quickly, pulling my hand away from the woman's as discreetly as I could. The money she'd given me felt like it was burning in my palm. Thomas looked at her politely. "Can we help you with something?" She smiled gently at him. "Oh no. Just chatting. Lovely couple." Then she gave me one last look. A look filled with a warning so heavy it felt like a weight on my chest. Thomas sat down beside me, still smiling. "People are so friendly here," he said. "What were you two talking about?" My throat tightened. My fingers shook beneath the table. I could still feel the bills hidden in my fist. "Nothing important," I whispered. For the rest of the meal, I barely tasted my food. I barely heard the music. I barely breathed. All I could think was, what did she see that I didn't? And why did her fear feel so real? Have you ever had a stranger look at you like they knew something terrible about your life? Something you weren't ready to admit to yourself? Because that night her eyes told me a truth I wasn't prepared to face. But if you want to understand why her warning mattered, why it ended up saving my life, you need to know what had been happening long before that dinner. I suppose the best place to start is a few years before that night, back when I still believed my life had finally settled into something warm and gentle. My name is Eleanor Whitford, and at the time I was 68 years old, newly remarried, and foolishly hopeful in a way I hadn't been since my first husband died. Harold and I had shared a quiet, steady love, 37 years of routines, morning kisses, and soft laughter. Losing him felt like losing the gravity that kept my world in place. So when Thomas appeared in my life after 5 long, lonely years of widowhood, I clung to the companionship he offered like a lifeline. He was patient, attentive, charming in that old-fashioned way that women my age were raised to admire. He opened doors for me, held my hand in public, brought me coffee just the way I liked it. I remember telling my sister, "It feels like life is giving me a second chance." God, how naive that sounds now. We met at a charity luncheon for retired teachers. I was chatting with an old colleague when Thomas approached our table with that warm smile, saying he remembered me from a school district event decades ago. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. I didn't question it then. I just felt flattered that someone remembered my face, especially someone who spoke with such confidence. We started having lunch together once a week, then twice. Before long he was showing up with flowers, telling me he felt like he'd known me forever. People warned me that 10 months was too soon to remarry, especially after losing Harold, but I was tired of empty dinners and cold sheets. I wanted companionship. I wanted to be seen again. So when Thomas proposed at sunset on a quiet beach, I said yes. For a while things really were good. We cooked dinner together, watched old movies, spent evenings sitting on the porch listening to cicadas. I remember thinking, maybe happiness really can return when you least expect it. But looking back, those early months feel almost staged, perfect in a way that should have made me suspicious. The first red flag came so gently that I brushed it off without a second thought. We were discussing retirement plans one evening and Thomas said, "Ellie, it might be easier if we merge our finances. We're a team now. Married couples shouldn't have secrets." I told him I preferred to keep things separate, just like I'd done with Harold. I'd always been responsible with money, careful even. Thomas gave me a patient smile, as if I were a child refusing to share her toys. "It's not about control," he said. "I just want to take care of you. Isn't that what husbands do?" Maybe I should have said no more firmly, but at the time I thought he meant well. I was a woman who had lived through loss, and part of me wanted someone to lean on again. Then came Emma, his adult daughter. She was polite at first, though the politeness felt like a mask she could remove whenever she wanted. The first time I met her, she looked me up and down in a way that made me feel judged. "Dad talks about you a lot," she said with a thin smile. "He finally has someone to keep him company." I told myself she just needed time. Losing a parent to remarriage isn't easy, even when you're an adult. But her comments grew sharper over the months. "It must be nice living in a house someone else paid off. Dad worries about you being alone. Older people get confused, you know. Are you sure you're keeping up with all the bills? He said you get overwhelmed." Overwhelmed. Confused. Old. It was subtle at first, but the message was there. One afternoon, I came home to find Emma in my small office, the one place in the house I considered truly mine. She jumped when she saw me. "Oh, I was just looking for Dad's tax papers," she said. "But Thomas never kept anything in my office." I told her so, and she smiled in that patronizing way grown children sometimes use when speaking to someone they've decided is incompetent. "You probably forgot," she said. That stung more than I cared to admit. Then little things around the house began to shift. My file folders were out of order. A medical document was missing. My password suddenly didn't work, and Thomas claimed he was just updating things so we'd be more organized. He said it with that same gentle voice he always used, but something in it felt like a leash tightening around my neck. Even my friends noticed a change. "You're quieter these days," one of them said. "Are you sure everything is okay at home?" I brushed it off with a smile. "Just getting older," I said. "My mind's always somewhere else lately." I laughed as if it didn't bother me, but in truth the unease was starting to settle deep in my chest. The real shift, the moment I felt something cold and undeniable, came on a Tuesday afternoon. I had gone online to check one of my retirement accounts, something I did every few months, and found myself locked out. My password had been changed. Thomas claimed he'd been helping, because the login security looked outdated. He said it with that little chuckle he always used to soften bad news. But when I asked him why he didn't tell me, he grew irritated. "Ellie, you worry too much. I'm taking care of things. You should trust me." Trust. That word suddenly felt heavy. Dangerous. Over the next few weeks, I noticed Thomas hovering more. He insisted on driving me everywhere, even when I didn't need him to. He encouraged me to stop meeting friends because you get so tired afterward. He volunteered to manage my medications because they're confusing now that the doctor adjusted them. Every suggestion sounded helpful, but I felt myself becoming smaller in my own life, like a bird whose wings were being clipped so gradually it didn't realize it couldn't fly anymore. One evening, I walked into the living room quietly and overheard Thomas on the phone. His voice was low, frustrated. "She's being stubborn," he said. "Yes, I'm trying." "No, I don't think she'll sign yet." "Sign what?" My stomach sank. Something wasn't right. Something had shifted in the space between us, and now I couldn't ignore it anymore. But what pushed me over the edge was catching him going through my purse. I had stepped out of the shower, my hair dripping onto the tile, when I saw him standing by the kitchen counter with my open handbag. He looked up at me without guilt, without even trying to hide it. "I was just checking if you needed cash," he said. "You never seem to remember anymore." "Remember what?" I snapped. My voice cracked. I hated that. He shrugged like he was tired of explaining things to a stubborn child. "It's okay, Ellie. Getting older is nothing to be ashamed of." My hands trembled. Not from age, from anger. That was the moment I felt something break inside me. Quiet breaking but real. A woman knows when someone she loves is lying to her. And I realized I had spent months trying to rewrite my instincts into something more pleasant, more digestible, more naive. That night I sat on the edge of my bed and stared at the window, listening to the hum of cars outside. My world felt smaller than it ever had. I was 68 years old, and for the first time in decades, I felt genuinely unsafe in my own home. I picked up the phone and dialed my neighbor Marcus, a retired private investigator who'd always been kind to me. When he answered, I whispered, "Marcus, I think something is wrong. I think Thomas is hiding things from me." He didn't laugh. He didn't dismiss me. He simply said, "I'll come by in the morning." And that was the moment everything started to unravel. Have you ever ignored your instincts until they screamed so loud you had no choice but to listen? Because that's exactly what I was living through. And I had no idea how much worse it was about to get. I barely slept that night after calling Marcus. I kept hearing Thomas's voice in my mind, soft and reassuring on the surface but edged with something cold I had tried for months not to name. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him standing over my open purse, and the way he spoke to me echoed like a warning I had refused to hear. By morning my nerves were stretched thin. When Marcus knocked on my door just after 9, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. There was something grounding about him. His calm voice, the methodical way he thought things through. He'd spent his whole life chasing down what people tried to hide. Now I needed him to help me do the same. I opened the door and whispered, "Thank you for coming." My voice sounded small even to me. He studied my face for a moment before stepping inside. "You look tired, Eleanor. Sit down. Tell me everything." I made tea because I didn't know what else to do with my hands. As I poured it, I told him everything I'd been collecting quietly in my own mind. The missing documents, the shifted folders, the changed passwords, Emma in my office, Thomas's sudden possessiveness over my medications, the overheard phone call about me refusing to sign, the condescending tone, the insistence on merging finances. Marcus didn't interrupt. He didn't laugh. He didn't brush anything aside. He just listened, eyes narrowing slightly, tapping a finger on his knee like he was creating a map inside his head. When I finished, he exhaled slowly. "Eleanor, what you're describing isn't nothing. These aren't small coincidences. This is a pattern." I felt a pit open in my stomach. A pattern of what? Control. Isolation. Manipulation, he said gently. And possibly preparation for something bigger. He leaned in a little. "Let me ask you something. Has Thomas talked to you lately about long-term planning? Wills? Medical decisions? Joint accounts?" My throat tightened. "Yes, all of that." Marcus nodded. "That's usually where it starts." I felt my heartbeat in my ears. "What are you saying?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he asked, "Do you trust him with your life?" I froze. My breath caught. Tears stung my eyes because he'd said the one thing I'd been terrified to think. "I thought I did," I whispered. Marcus rested a hand on mine. "Then let's find out the truth." Over the next few weeks, I began to live two lives. The one Thomas saw, and the one I kept hidden with Marcus's help. When Thomas was home, I acted normal. I cooked meals, folded laundry, asked about his day. I smiled when he talked about how tired I seemed, nodded when he said he'd refill my prescriptions for me, pretended to appreciate his constant hovering. But when Thomas left the house, even for a drive, a grocery trip, or a sudden errand, I transformed. I became someone observant, calculating, careful. Every time the door closed behind him, I felt like a prisoner sneaking tools past her guard. Marcus taught me where to look first. "Predators always slip somewhere," he said. "They get sloppy when they think they've convinced you." And he was right. The first real crack appeared in Thomas's desk drawer. He had a little wooden box he kept tucked behind files, something I'd never seen him open in front of me. One afternoon, shortly after he left to meet a friend, I slipped into the office and searched it. My hands shook, but I kept going. Inside the box were several manila envelopes, neatly stuffed and labeled. I opened the first one and felt the air leave my lungs. It was a list, an inventory of my belongings. My jewelry, my retirement accounts, my pension details, the house's estimated value, even Harold's old life insurance payout. Prices were written next to each item, assessed like it was a catalog for a garage sale I never agreed to. But that wasn't the worst part. At the bottom of the page were the words, "Pending legal control, requires signature." My signature. I stared at those words for a long time. My hand felt numb, my fingers trembling so hard I nearly tore the page. I moved to the second envelope. Inside were photocopies of legal forms, guardianship petitions, medical authority documents, and even a draft of a durable power of attorney, with a signature at the bottom that looked almost exactly like mine. Almost, but not my handwriting. A wave of nausea hit me so hard I had to grip the desk to steady myself. The third envelope contained emails printed out, emails between Thomas and someone named R. Lowell, discussing next steps, compliance windows, and the importance of acting before cognitive symptoms become obvious. I read one line 3 times before it sank in. Once we have full authority, assets can be consolidated without delay. Consolidated. My assets. Me. I felt my breath catch in my throat. This wasn't care. This wasn't concern. This wasn't love. This was a plan. A plan with steps and timelines and a financial motive so plain I felt ashamed I hadn't seen it sooner. My hands shook so badly that when I closed the envelopes, I dropped one on the floor. The sound was loud, too loud, and I panicked. I shoved everything back as neatly as I could, and practically ran out of the office, closing the door silently behind me. My heart didn't slow for a full hour. I showed everything to Marcus that night. He looked through the documents one by one, his jaw tightening. "This isn't just suspicious," he said quietly. "This is criminal. What do I do?" I asked, my voice cracking. "I can't confront him. He'll deny everything. He'll twist it all back on me." "No," Marcus agreed. "You don't confront him. Not yet. You gather more." So that's what we did. Marcus installed a tiny voice recorder hidden inside a decorative bowl in the living room. One Thomas never touched. Another near the office doorway. And a third in my car's glove box. "Predators always talk," he told me. "They brag, they coordinate, they reassure themselves. They reveal more when they think no one's listening." He was right again. The recording started quietly. Nothing but small comments, moments I'd always brushed aside before. Thomas saying things like, "She's overwhelmed lately," or "Her memory isn't what it used to be." Little seeds of doubt he was planting about me. But within 2 weeks the tone shifted. One recording captured him pacing the living room while talking on the phone. "She's almost there," he said. "She trusts me. She doesn't question anything. I just need the last signature." Another recording was worse. Much worse. Emma's voice. "What if she refuses again?" Thomas. "Then we make sure she doesn't get the chance." Emma. "Dad, how far are you willing to go?" Thomas. "As far as I need to." I remember listening to that part with Marcus beside me, both of us silent. My chest went cold. "What does that mean?" I whispered. Marcus didn't look away from the recorder. "It means," he said slowly, "you need to stay vigilant. And you need to stay careful. This has gone beyond manipulation." I felt the room tilt. "You think he'd hurt me?" Marcus didn't answer right away. That scared me more than any answer could have. Instead, he asked, "Eleanor, has Thomas been preparing your meals?" I froze. "Yes." "And your medication?" "Yes." He nodded slowly, his expression grim. "Then we need to get those checked." And so we did. On a day Thomas believed I was spending the afternoon shopping with a friend, one I had conveniently forgotten to confirm with, Marcus drove me to a small clinic where a trusted pharmacist analyzed the pills Thomas prepared for me every Sunday night. 2 capsules were switched for a higher dosage I wasn't prescribed. Another contained a medication I had stopped taking months earlier. "Taken together," the pharmacist said carefully, These could cause dizziness, confusion, memory lapses, potentially even a fainting spell. I leaned on Marcus's arm as the room seemed to tilt again. He wanted me to look confused, I whispered. He wanted me to forget things. He wanted to create a pattern, Marcus said, to support the story he's been telling people. He's building a case that you're mentally declining. I covered my face with my hands. How did I not see this? How did I live with this man and not see what he was doing? Because you loved him, Marcus said. And love makes us overlook things predators count on us overlooking. Predators. That word hit me with a force I wasn't prepared for. Things escalated quickly after that. Emma started visiting more often, offering unsolicited help with every tiny thing. Writing lists for me, tidying my office, sorting my mail. She'd sigh a little every time she helped, like she was exhausted from managing me. One afternoon she said, "Dad's really worried about you, Eleanor. You've been forgetting things a lot. Maybe you should let him handle the bills. You have enough to deal with." I stared at her, feeling something harden inside me. What exactly am I dealing with, Emma? She blinked or pretended to. Well, age. Memory changes. Stress. You just seem off lately. I smiled at her sweetly. Funny, I said. I feel sharper than ever. She didn't like that. Her smile flickered for a fraction of a second. I noticed. For the first time I noticed everything. After she left, I found 2 of my personal folders moved again. Not much. Just enough for someone who knew what they were doing. The final straw, the moment everything snapped completely into place, came on a rainy Thursday afternoon. Thomas had left early, saying he needed to sort out some financial paperwork. I pretended to stay home reading. An hour later, I got a text from Marcus. He's meeting someone. Corner booth at Carson's cafe. Come now. Quietly. My hand shook as I grabbed my coat. Marcus was right, there they were. Through the cafe window, I saw Thomas sitting across from a man I'd never seen before. 40-ish, stern-looking, sharply dressed. Papers were spread between them. Thomas tapped one page with his finger, saying something intensely. The man nodded. I took out my phone and recorded a video through the window. Then a third person arrived. Emma. She slid into the booth beside Thomas, leaned in and whispered something. Thomas smiled, and pushed another paper toward her. She signed something. My heart dropped to the floor. Marcus whispered. They're formalizing something. This is your proof. I felt like I was watching my own funeral preparations. Something inside me shifted that day. A slow, deep turning. I wasn't weak. I wasn't confused. I wasn't old or fragile or incompetent. I was awake. And for the first time I understood. I wasn't living with a husband. I'd been living with a threat. Have you ever realized that the danger in your life wasn't outside your home, but sitting across from you at the dinner table? Because that kind of realization changes you forever. By the time I walked away from that cafe window, trembling but steady, one thing had become clear. I was done being prey, and I was going to expose them all. After that day at Carson's cafe, something inside me hardened into steel. It wasn't bravery, not really. It was survival. The kind that rises up in a woman when she realizes she's been living next to a wolf wearing her husband's smile. For the first time I saw Thomas clearly, not as the man who brought me flowers or held my hand during thunderstorms, but as someone who had been studying me, assessing me, preparing me for something I never agreed to. And now I needed to prepare too. Marcus came over that evening after dark, using the back door like we were plotting an escape from a prison. In many ways we were. He brought a thick leather binder filled with tabs. Everything goes in here, he said. Every document. Every photo. Every recording. I sat across from him at my kitchen table while rain dripped steadily against the window. Marcus, what if this is bigger than just money? He didn't look up from the recorder he was checking. It is bigger. People don't go this far for just money. They go this far because they want to win. Because they convince themselves they deserve what you have. Because you became an obstacle. I felt a chill run down my spine. An obstacle to what? To control. To power. To image. And money follows those things. He paused, looking at me seriously. Eleanor, whatever Thomas wants, he wants fast. He's accelerating. He was right. We both knew it. I wasn't naive enough to think Thomas wouldn't eventually check on me during the day. So I became careful, very careful. I practiced moving papers back exactly as I found them, lining up corners, memorizing dust patterns on his desk. I positioned my phone in places where I could record without being obvious. I placed a small notebook inside an old recipe book so I could write down everything without raising suspicion. Every morning after Thomas left, I began a routine. First, I checked my belongings, my office drawers, my jewelry box, the file cabinet, just to make sure nothing else had been moved. Then I did a quiet walk through the house, paying attention to things I had never thought twice about before. The angle of a chair, the amount of water in a plant pot, the way Thomas folded the mail. Predators betray themselves through the little things. Marcus said that once and I repeated it like a mantra. One morning about a week into this routine, I found a new document tucked beneath a stack of insurance papers. It wasn't there before. I knew because I checked that drawer twice every day. The top of the page said, Cognitive Evaluation Request. For me. Something cold curled in my stomach. I skimmed the document. It was a request for a mental competence assessment, signed by Thomas, citing concerns regarding memory lapses, impaired judgment, and confusion. I felt dizzy. He had already started the process. He wasn't waiting for me to forget things. He was manufacturing the evidence step by step. There were lines highlighted in yellow. Increased forgetfulness observed by family. Difficulty managing finances. Possible early-stage cognitive decline. I sank into my chair. My God. He's painting me as incompetent. Marcus came over immediately when I texted him a picture of the document. He read it silently while I stood by the window, trying to swallow the lump in my throat. This is premeditated, he said finally. He's laying the groundwork to strip you of everything. I pressed a hand to my chest. But why? Why me? Why someone he married? Because you have something he wants, Marcus said gently. And because you trust him. Or had trusted him. That was gone now. The next week was a blur of discovery after discovery, each one more disturbing than the last. Thomas began calling my friends behind my back. I found out when Margaret left me a voicemail saying, Honey, Thomas told me you've been having a hard time remembering things. I wanted to check in. My entire body went cold. He was building witnesses. Then there was the afternoon I overheard him talking in the garage. His voice was low, frustrated. I don't care if the timeline is tight, he said. She's slipping already. She forgot where she put her phone yesterday. I hadn't forgotten. I'd intentionally moved it to test something. We need the paperwork done before the insurance renewal, he continued. Yes. The higher payout. A pause. No, she has no idea. I felt sick. I pressed my back against the wall and remained perfectly still until he walked inside again. When the lock clicked, I allowed myself to breathe. Renewal. Higher payout. A horrifying thought hit me. He was waiting for the insurance to increase before making his final move. I pressed a hand to my mouth, swallowing a rising wave of nausea. Marcus needs to hear this, I whispered to myself. Marcus didn't waste time. We need to document everything, he said. But we also need to move faster. He's preparing a legal attack. You need legal protection. He set me up with an attorney he trusted. A woman named Claire who specialized in elder financial abuse and guardianship fraud. She was calm, sharp-tongued, brilliant. Her first words to me were, This is textbook. They always start with isolation. They? I asked. Opportunists, she said. Sometimes they're adult children. Sometimes caregivers. Sometimes spouses. Always someone close. I swallowed hard. She opened her notebook. Tell me everything from the beginning. And so I did. She listened, asked precise questions, flipped through the evidence Marcus and I had gathered. When we finished, she sat back in her chair, studying me. Mrs. Whitford, you're in danger, she said softly. Legally, emotionally, and possibly physically. My whole body trembled. Can I stop him? I asked. She leaned forward. Absolutely. But you need to follow my instructions exactly. She gave me a list of immediate steps. Lock down every account. Freeze my credit. Document every interaction with Thomas. Create an emergency contact protocol. Redirect mail to a P.O. box. Secure my will. insurance papers and deeds in a private safe. Do not, under any circumstances, sign anything he gives me. And above all, do not confront him yet. It only works if he believes he's winning, she said. Let him think that. I nodded, feeling both terrified and determined. The turning point in my evidence gathering came in the form of a letter. It arrived on a Thursday afternoon addressed to Thomas, but the envelope had torn slightly at the corner. Something inside was sticking out, just enough that I could see the words. Confidential in red ink. Curiosity or survival pushed me. I slid a letter opener through the rest of the seal, carefully enough that I could lose it without leaving a trace. Inside was a letter from a legal firm, a guardianship petition draft. For me, the wording was brutal. It claimed I was exhibiting cognitive decline, displaying confusion, mismanaging my medications, and refusing assistance. Refusing assistance. The same assistance Thomas kept forcing on me. The letter referenced upcoming steps, expected signatures, and a court date he was planning to request once necessary evidence was finalized. Evidence he was manufacturing. And then I saw the last line. Once granted, full financial control will be transferred to the petitioner and his designated secondary agent, Miss Emma Whitford. I nearly dropped the paper. Emma. Of course Emma. This was never just Thomas. She was helping him, maybe even driving him. This was a coordinated attack. I folded the letter back perfectly, slid it into the envelope, sealed it with a damp sponge, and placed it back in the mail stack just as it had been. My hands were trembling so badly I had to sit down. God, they're trying to take my life, I whispered. Not physically yet, but everything that made my life mine. My independence. My home. My identity. My dignity. And I knew then without any doubt, if I did nothing I would lose everything. A few days later, I witnessed something that made my blood run cold. Thomas and Emma were in the living room when they thought I was out on my walk. I had returned early because the weather turned windy, and as I opened the front door quietly, I heard my name. Emma's voice was low, irritated. Dad, she's still too aware. She remembers things. She notices things. We can't wait forever. Thomas hissed back. It's fine. She's starting to slip. She's not slipping fast enough, Emma snapped. You're being soft again. Soft. That word felt like a knife. Thomas sighed. I know what I'm doing. No, Dad, she said sharply. You think you know. But what if she figures it out before the paperwork's ready? What then? Thomas didn't answer. Emma continued. You said the insurance doubles soon. If something happens before that. He cut her off. Stop. We can't discuss that here. Insurance doubles soon. Something happens. Those two phrases have echoed in my mind ever since. I backed away slowly, my heart pounding so loudly I thought they'd hear it. I slipped out the front door again and walked around the block twice before returning, making noise this time so they'd hear me approaching. When I walked in, they were sitting on opposite sides of the room like they hadn't spoken at all. Thomas smiled as if he hadn't just been discussing my future like a problem to solve. There you are. I was starting to worry. You walked longer than usual. I smiled back. I don't know how I managed it. The day after that, I found the missing medical form. He had hidden it in the laundry basket. It was a printed medication management record, with a section titled Observed Side Effects. Underneath, Thomas had written, confusion, dizziness, memory difficulty, emotional instability, unreliable judgment. None of it was true. None. But it fit perfectly into the story he was building. I took a picture of it and placed the original exactly where I found it. Everything was evidence now. Marcus helped me install a fourth recording device, this one in the dining room chandelier. It sounds dramatic, but predators do their clearest talking when they believe they're at home, safe, unwatched. Sure enough, it captured the final piece. A conversation between Thomas and that man from the cafe, whose name I later learned was Richard Lowell. Richard. She'll contest it. Thomas. Not with the medical documentation. Richard. It's thin. You need more incidents. Thomas. I'm working on it. Richard. Work faster. The renewal's in 4 weeks. 4 weeks. That was their timeline. They wanted everything to be complete. Paperwork, signatures, declarations, medical claims, before the insurance doubled. And then what? I tried not to think about what then meant. But a woman feels it when her life is suddenly at risk. Not metaphorically. Literally. My body knew before my mind admitted it. The worst moment, the one that confirmed everything, happened late one night. Thomas thought I was asleep. I heard him open the bedside drawer and pull something out. I kept my breathing steady, careful, pretending to remain asleep. He walked quietly to my side of the bed, stood there for a long moment, and whispered under his breath, "Soon." Just that one word. Soon. A shiver crept down my spine. I didn't move. I didn't open my eyes. In the morning I found an empty pill capsule under the dresser. Something he dropped. Something he didn't mean to leave behind. I took it straight to Marcus. He looked at it and asked, "Has he given you anything unusual to drink? Tea? Wine?" I felt my stomach twist. "He pours my wine. Every night." Marcus's expression turned grim. "Stop drinking anything he gives you." That night, Thomas filled my glass like always. "Here," he said. "This will help you sleep." I smiled, took the glass and said, "Thank you, dear." I didn't drink a drop. At that point I had enough proof to fill 2 binders. Enough to bury Thomas and Emma legally. Enough to stop their guardianship attempt. Enough to show a judge the full depth of their fraud. But I needed one last thing: timing. Claire, my attorney, said, "We wait until he thinks he's won. We wait until he's comfortable. That's when he'll reveal the rest." And so I continued pretending. Pretending to be tired. Pretending to forget things. Pretending to trust him. Pretending to be dying inside when in truth I was planning. Every day I played the part. Thomas would put a hand on my back and say, "You seem so overwhelmed lately," and I'd smile weakly, murmuring, "I don't know what's wrong with me." Emma would shake her head sadly and say, "Dad and I are worried about you," and I'd force a tremble into my voice as I whispered, "Maybe you're right." They thought I was slipping. I was sharpening. They thought I was fading. I was watching. They thought they were winning. I was preparing their downfall. Everything built toward their final move. I knew it was coming. I could feel it in the air. Like the heaviness before a thunderstorm breaks open. And it came on a Sunday afternoon. Thomas walked into our bedroom holding a stack of papers, his expression soft but tense. "Ellie, darling," he said, "I need you to sign a few forms. Just routine updates. Nothing major." He placed the papers on my lap. I looked down and saw them. Guardianship consent forms. Power of attorney. Medical release. All disguised as health plan updates. My heart pounded, but I kept my face blank. "What's all this?" "Just little things," he said, "to make sure you're taken care of." His voice was sugary sweet. I felt sick. Not with fear. Fear had turned into something else. Something colder. Something fierce. A strength I didn't know I had. I smiled at him. "Of course, dear," I said. "I'll sign them. But not right now. My hand hurts today. Tonight, okay?" His eyes flickered with satisfaction. And in that moment I knew. He believed the trap was closing. He believed I was helpless. He believed he had already won. He had no idea that everything he handed me was the final piece of his own undoing. Have you ever realized that the people trying to destroy you had just handed you the weapon you needed to fight back? Because that's exactly what happened to me. And I was finally ready. Ready to turn the tables. Ready to end the game. Ready for the moment everything would explode. I wait until Thomas leaves the bedroom before I let the smile fade from my face. The forged medical forms sit on my lap like venom. Slick, poisonous, and dangerous enough to kill. My hands shake when I touch them, but not from fear. Not anymore. This isn't fear anymore. This is fury sharpened into purpose. I place the papers back into the envelope exactly as they were, and tuck it into my nightstand. I'm going to need it later. It's the last brick in the wall he built to bury me. And now it's going to be the first brick I throw back. I text Marcus a single sentence. He gave me the papers. "It's time." He replies immediately. "Tonight. Claire is ready. Play along until 7 p.m. Don't deviate." A date and time. The beginning of the end. I tuck my phone beneath the mattress just as Thomas calls from the kitchen. "Ellie? Want some tea?" Of course he wants to give me something again. Something to make me foggy, pliable, manageable. I force a warm voice. Tea sounds lovely. I walk into the kitchen, moving slowly the way he expects. He smiles when he sees me, and something in that smile twists my stomach. It's the smile of a man convinced his plan is sealed. A man rehearsing his victory. He pours me a cup, adding a small amber bottle into it when he thinks I'm not looking. The bottle disappears into his pocket before he turns around. I take the cup and pretend to sip, letting the steam hit my lips. Thank you, Thomas, I murmur. He touches my arm gently. I just want to take care of you. If I hadn't already heard the recordings, the discussions of insurance timelines, necessary incidents, I might have believed him, might have even felt grateful. But now those words feel like someone petting a lamb as they lead it into a slaughterhouse. I set the cup down and let my voice quiver. You're so good to me. He beams. Always. He leaves the room satisfied. I pour the tea down the sink. All afternoon I play my part flawlessly. I let him guide me by the elbow. I let him repeat things I already know. I let him misplace objects and then tell me I did it. Every moment is evidence. Every moment is strategy. Every moment brings me closer to 7 p.m. At 6:42 p.m., I sit on the living room couch with my hands folded on my lap. Thomas sits across from me, flipping through a magazine, pretending not to be watching me. But he is. He always is. I look around the room, committing it to memory. The window he once opened for fresh air. The shelf where I hid the recordings. The photo of us on the beach the day he proposed. I no longer see a memory. I see a warning I ignored. I check the clock again. 6:49 p.m. My heart beats slow, steady. Not in panic. In readiness. At 6:53 p.m. my phone vibrates, 3 short buzzes. The signal. I rise from the couch. Thomas? I'm going to get the papers to sign. Might as well do it before dinner. He sits up straighter, trying not to look too eager. Of course, dear. Take your time. Take your time. I walk down the hall, open the drawer and retrieve the envelope. My fingers run over the seal once, only once, then I walk back to the living room. Thomas is waiting. Here they are, I say softly. He clears his throat, straightens his shirt. Good. Sit with me. I'll walk you through it. He reaches for a pen. And that's when the doorbell rings. He freezes. The pen stops midair. I keep my expression blank. Were you expecting someone? Thomas forces a casual tone. Probably a delivery. A delivery on a Sunday evening? I tilt my head slightly. He hesitates. The doorbell rings again. A little firmer this time. I see the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes, the smallest ripple in the calm surface he always maintains. It satisfies me in a way I didn't expect. He stands and walks to the door while I sit perfectly still, the envelope resting on my lap like a detonator. He opens the door, and everything explodes. Claire steps inside first, crisp suit, briefcase in hand, expression sharp as a blade. 2 uniformed officers follow her, and behind them is Marcus, holding a binder thick enough to choke a horse. Thomas's face drains of color. What's the meaning of this? Claire doesn't answer him. She looks at me instead. Mrs. Whitford, are you all right? I nod slowly. I am now. Thomas turns to me, frantic. Ellie? What's happening? Why are these people here? Claire opens her briefcase. Mr. Whitford, we have reason to believe you have been attempting to coerce your wife into signing fraudulent documents. His face twists. That's absurd. She's confused. She doesn't know. Marcus cuts in calmly. No, Thomas. She knows everything. And we have it all recorded. Thomas rounds on me. Ellie, darling, you're making a mistake. These people are manipulating you. The gall of that sentence nearly sends me laughing. Instead, I hold up the envelope. You gave me these about an hour ago. His throat works as he swallows. They're just routine updates. Claire pulls out the real copies she printed from the recordings and shakes them. These routine updates are guardianship petitions, power of attorney transfers, medical authority forms. And here, she taps the signature line. You plan to forge your wife's signature. Thomas stares at her, frozen. Then he tries to speak, but nothing comes out. Claire turns to the officers. You can proceed. The officers step forward. Mr. Whitford, you're under investigation for attempted fraud, identity falsification, and elder coercion. We have a warrant to seize any relevant documents from the home. Thomas's shot collapses into desperation. No, this is insane. She's losing her memory. She's been unstable. Claire lifts her chin. We have medical verification that her cognitive health is fully intact. And we have audio recordings of you planning the opposite narrative. He turns to me again, eyes wild. Ellie, tell them. Tell them you're confused. Tell them you didn't. I stand up slowly. For the first time in months, I straighten my spine fully. I feel bigger than I have in a very long time. No, Thomas, I say softly. You tell them. He blinks, stunned. I step closer. Not enough for him to touch me, but enough for him to hear the steel in my voice. You tell them why you convinced everyone I was slipping. You tell them why you switched my medications. You tell them why you changed my passwords, moved my files, called my friends, met with lawyers in secret. You tell them why you needed my signature so badly. His jaw trembles. I speak the last sentence quietly but firmly. Or you tell a judge. Thomas lunges, not at me but toward the hallway, maybe trying to flee, maybe trying to grab something incriminating. But the officers move faster. They restrain him easily. He thrashes against their hands. Get off me. You don't understand. I needed the money. It was already half spent. Emma and I. He stops, realizing he said too much. Emma. Of course. Claire doesn't flinch. We'll be requesting her presence next. Thomas glares at me over his shoulder, hatred pouring from him like poison. You ruined everything. He spits. My voice is calm. No, Thomas. You ruined yourself. As they drag him toward the door, he shouts. You're nothing without me. You can't even take care of yourself. I meet his eyes one last time. I took care of myself just fine, I say. That's why you're leaving in handcuffs. He screams my name as they shove him into the car. But the sound barely reaches me. It feels distant. Small. Insignificant. For the first time in months, the house is quiet. Truly quiet. Marcus steps beside me. You did it, Eleanor. But I shake my head gently. No. We did it. He squeezes my shoulder. Claire gathers the last of the documents. Everything will move quickly from here. He's finished. Finished. The word feels heavy. Final. I look at the papers on the table, the tools of my destruction that became the proof of his. I sit down slowly, letting the reality settle over me. He planned to erase me, to take my life while pretending to care for it, to make me vanish while he smiled through it. But he forgot the oldest truth about women like me. We may be quiet. We may be overlooked. We may be underestimated. But we are never weak. And when pushed into a corner, we become something men like Thomas never expect. Relentless. This was the night everything changed. The night the prey stopped running. The night the hunter fell into his own trap. The night I got my life back. And I wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. The house is quiet after Thomas's arrest, too quiet. It's the kind of quiet that feels wrong, like the air is holding its breath. Marcus leaves after making sure all the documents are secured. And Claire promises to call me in the morning with the next steps. When they're gone, I stand in the middle of the living room, staring at the door that Thomas was dragged through. It should feel like victory, but it feels like a beginning. Like something has shifted and the air hasn't caught up yet. I walk slowly through the house, room by room, almost as if expecting him to step out from behind a door and say, Ellie darling, you're imagining things again. He can't. I know this. But the ghost of him lingers. In the hallway. On the carpet. In the mirror behind me. I exhale slowly. It's finally over, I whisper. But even as I say it, a part of me knows. Predators rarely act alone. And Thomas never did anything without Emma knowing. My phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. You shouldn't have done that. Another message follows. You have no idea what you've set in motion. My blood runs cold. Emma. Of course. I text Marcus immediately, forwarding the messages. He calls within seconds. Eleanor? Are you safe? I think so, I say, though I'm not entirely sure. She's angry. She's more than angry, Marcus says. She's implicated. She knows it. And she's going to panic. I swallow hard. What does that mean for me? There's a pause. A long one. Then, it means she might do something reckless. I grip the edge of the kitchen counter. Are you saying she might come here? I'm saying, he answers slowly, that people who are about to lose everything don't always think rationally. I'm heading back. Lock your doors. I do. Every latch, every bolt, every window. But even with everything secured, the silence feels wrong. Heavy, electric, charged with something I can't name. I sit on the couch and wait for Marcus to arrive. Only then do I notice the card on the coffee table. A plain white envelope, no markings. My heart lurches. I didn't put that there. I open it with trembling fingers. Inside is a single photograph. Me, standing in the kitchen. From earlier today. Taken through the window. I gasp and drop the photo, my stomach twisting violently. Someone was watching me. Someone close. Someone bold enough to walk right up to my house. I call Marcus again, voice shaking. She was here. He breathes sharply. Don't move. I'm almost there. But before he can get to the house, before I can even process what I'm holding, I hear it. A soft, deliberate knock on the back door. I freeze. One knock. Then another. Then a slow, syrupy voice. Eleanor? It's Emma. We need to talk. I don't move. I don't breathe. The doorknob rattles lightly. Open the door, please. I'm not here to hurt you. My pulse hammers in my ears. I whisper, go away. She clicks her tongue. I really hoped it wouldn't come to this. And then, glass shatters. My body reacts before my mind does. I drop the photo, grab the heavy lamp beside the couch, and run toward the hallway just as something metallic hits the floor behind me. I turn and see it roll across the hardwood. A rock. A rock with a note tied around it. I sprint to the bedroom, slam the door and twist the lock. Her voice follows down the hall. Calm. Sweet. Terrifying. Running won't help, Eleanor. You're not as fast as you used to be. My hands shake so badly I can barely dial Marcus again. He picks up on the first ring. She's in the house, I whisper. She broke in. Stay hidden. I'm 2 minutes away. 2 minutes. 2 minutes feels like an eternity when your predator is inside your home. I press myself against the closet door, trying not to breathe too loudly. My heart pounds so hard I'm afraid she'll hear it through the walls. Footsteps approach the bedroom. Slow. Intentionally slow. She tries the knob. Locked. She hums lightly like a child standing outside a classroom door. Then her voice softens. Do you know what you've done, Eleanor? Do you have any idea? My father is everything to me. Everything. And you took him from me. I want to scream that she and Thomas planned to steal my life, but the words lodge in my throat. You destroyed our future, she continues. You ruined everything we worked for. Worked for. Those words snap something inside me. Worked for? Worked to take my home? My money? My freedom? She knocks again. Open the door, Eleanor. We can still fix this. I grip the lamp tighter. There is nothing to fix. Nothing to salvage. Nothing to repair. She knows that. And I know she knows. The knob jiggles again. A few seconds of silence. Then, the doorframe creaks. She's pushing her shoulder against it. Hard. My breath catches. Emma, stop. I shout. The police are on their way. She laughs softly. You think I care? Something inside me twists. This woman is unhinged. I take a step back. Another heavy slam. The frame cracks. Dust falls from the top of the door. Stop. I scream. Please stop. Another slam. The latch shifts. The screws loosen. My body moves on instinct. I brace the lamp like a weapon. The door bursts open. Emma stands there, face flushed, eyes wild. Not grief-stricken, not desperate. Cold. Calculating. Predatory. Her gaze sweeps the room, landing on me. There you are. I raise the lamp. Stay back. She lifts her hand slowly. Eleanor. I don't want to hurt you. She steps closer anyway. I shake my head violently. Stop. She doesn't. She lunges. I swing the lamp with every ounce of strength left in my body. It connects with her forearm and she screams, but it doesn't stop her. She grabs my wrist, gripping so tightly the bones grind together. You ruined everything, she shrieks. I fight back, twisting, clawing, kicking, years of fear exploding into violent desperation. She shoves me hard and I stumble into the dresser, knocking photos to the floor. I see the glint of something in her hand. A letter opener. Long, sharp. Silver. My heart plummets. She lunges again. I dive to the floor, the blade missing my shoulder by an inch. I crawl toward the bathroom, but she grabs my ankle and yanks me back. "Eleanor," she screams. "Stop fighting." I flip onto my back and kick her in the knee. She collapses, dropping the opener with a metallic clatter. I scramble to my feet, breath ragged, and run. Down the hall. Around the corner. Toward the front door. But she catches me again, slamming me into the wall. Pain shoots up my side. I gasp, vision blurring. She leans close, breath hot against my ear. "Why couldn't you just sign the papers?" Her words ripple through me like acid. And in that moment, the fear inside me turns to fire. I shove her back with everything I have. She stumbles. I bolt down the hallway toward the kitchen, grabbing the first thing I see. A cast iron pan left drying on the stove. She rounds the corner, gripping the wall, face twisted in rage. I hold the pan up, shaking but focused. She steps toward me. 1 step. 2. 3. Her lips curl. "You won't do it." And for a split second, I almost believe her. Then, Marcus's voice outside. "Eleanor. EMTs are here. Where are you?" He's running toward the back door. Emma snaps her head in his direction, and I seize the moment. I swing. The pan connects with a sickening thud. Emma drops. The letter opener skitters across the tile. I stand there gulping air, shaking violently, staring at her crumpled form. Marcus bursts through the door. "Eleanor." I lower the pan. She broke in. She had a weapon. He rushes to me, holding my arms. "Are you hurt?" I don't know." Police fled in behind him. Officers shout. EMTs kneel beside Emma. I sink to the ground, the adrenaline evaporating all at once, leaving only trembling exhaustion. Marcus kneels with me. "It's over. It's over now." But as I sit there, shaking, staring at the broken doorframe and the shattered glass and the woman who tried to end my life, I realize something. This isn't over. Not yet. Not by a long shot. Because Emma wasn't acting out of impulse alone. She came here with purpose. With warning. With words that haunt me even now. "You have no idea what you've set in motion." They take Emma away on a stretcher, unconscious but breathing. An officer files a preliminary statement while another photographs the damage, the broken glass, the torn doorframe, the scattered photos on the floor. My hands won't stop shaking. Marcus covers me with a blanket, even though I'm not cold. Claire arrives 15 minutes later, heels clicking sharply against the tile. She crouches in front of me, placing a hand on my knee. "Eleanor. Look at me." I force myself to meet her eyes. "You survived," she says softly. "That matters more than anything." A tear spills down my cheek without permission. "She tried to kill me." "Yes," Claire says. "And now she's going to face consequences for it." But something in her expression makes my stomach twist. She's holding back. I feel it like a shift in the air. "What?" I whisper. "There's something else." Claire exhales slowly. "The officers found something in her car." My throat tightens. "What?" She opens her tablet, turning it toward me. A photo fills the screen. A printout. Of insurance documents. My insurance documents. Updated 3 days ago. Worth more than I ever realized. Then a second photo. A map of my neighborhood. My street circled. My house marked with an X. Then a third. A typed list titled, "Assets for Liquidation." The same style as Thomas's envelopes. The same handwriting. The same plan. "And that's not the worst of it," Claire says quietly. She scrolls. A fourth photo. A sheet of paper with times. Schedules. Patterns. My patterns. When I'm home. When I'm alone. When I sleep. When I walk. My breath catches. It's not just a plot. It's surveillance. "Claire," I whisper, trembling. "She was watching me." "For weeks," Claire says. "Maybe longer." The room sways. Marcus steadies me. Claire puts a hand on my shoulder. "You weren't paranoid." You were hunted. The tears come hot and fast. I press my hands to my face, shaking. Marcus squeezes my arm. We've got you now. But the fear lingers. Not fear of Emma. Not fear of Thomas. Fear of what they were willing to do. And what they might have left undone. When the officers finally leave, when Emma is cuffed in a stretcher and taken to the hospital under police supervision, when the EMTs insist I should go to the ER and I refuse, only then does the house fall quiet again. I sit on the couch staring at the floor. Marcus sits beside me. What are you thinking? I swallow hard. She said something before she attacked me. What? That I had no idea what I'd set in motion. Marcus's expression shifts. That was a threat. I know, I say. But it felt like more than that. He tilts his head. Meaning. She wasn't afraid of getting caught. She wasn't panicked. She was angry, yes, but she wasn't surprised. Marcus's brow furrows. You think she expected today? No, I whisper. I think she expected something worse. He sits back slowly, understanding creeping into his eyes. And then, a sudden banging on the door jolts us both upright. Not violent. Urgent. Marcus stands first. Stay here. He opens the door. And Claire rushes inside, breathless. Eleanor, we have a bigger problem. My stomach drops. What now? Claire closes the door and locks it. Thomas posted bail. The world tilts. My heartbeat stops. Then hammers. Then roars. No, I breathe. He can't, he shouldn't. He did, Claire says, voice grave. A third party paid it. Cash. Marcus stiffens. Who? We're trying to confirm, she answers. But there's one more thing. She swallows, looks at me, and says, Thomas is coming here. I don't hear anything for a moment. Just a ringing in my ears. A hollow roar. Marcus stands. We need to get her out. Now. I agree, Claire says. The officers on duty are already on their way to intercept him, but we can't assume they'll reach him first. What? I choke. What are you saying? He's coming here. Claire kneels in front of me again. Eleanor, listen to me. He blames you. You exposed everything. His finances, his reputation, his entire future. He's lost it all. But he knows the police are watching. He doesn't care, Claire says firmly. He's desperate. The panic rises in my throat, thick and suffocating. I can't go through this again. Marcus grips my hand. You're not alone. We're getting you out of here. I nod, but tears blur my vision. Outside, a car engine rumbles. Not Marcus's. Not Claire's. Not a police cruiser. Slow. Purposeful. Coming down my street. Coming closer. Claire looks toward the window. We need to move. Now. My pulse surges with terror. What if it's him? Marcus steps toward the window and peeks outside. He stiffens, turns to us, and whispers, It's him. The world collapses into silence. Then everything happens at once. Claire grabs my arm. Go. Back door. Move. Marcus draws his phone. Officers now. Now. I stumble toward the kitchen, legs weak, heart pounding so violently it hurts. Claire shoves my coat into my arms. Behind me, a car door slams shut. A familiar voice calls out, Ellie. Thomas. Claire yanks me toward the back exit. Don't listen to him. Marcus stays behind for a moment to block the hallway. A fist pounds the front door. The wood shakes. I yelp and nearly collapse. He pounds again. Harder. Ellie. Open the door. Claire hisses. Move. I run. Not fast. Not gracefully. But I run. We reach the back door. Another bang from the front. Crack. The frame groans. Then Thomas's voice, twisted with rage. You think you can ruin my life and walk away? Claire shoves me outside just as another massive blow shakes the house. Marcus yells from inside. Go, go. We run across the yard toward Marcus's car. I hear footsteps, heavy, fast, inside the house. He's inside. He's inside. He's inside. Claire throws open the back door of the car. Get in. I dive into the seat. She jumps in after me. Marcus sprints from the porch, shouting, He's coming, Gio. Claire screams, Marcus, move. He dives into the passenger seat. The porch light flares. Thomas bursts out the back door. Eyes wild. Face twisted. Hands clenched. He charges toward the car. Ellie. Marcus slams his hand on the dashboard. Drive. Claire floors it. The tires screech. Gravel spits. The car jerks forward. Thomas lunges. For a second I swear he'll reach us. His fingers brush the trunk. And then, we tear down the street, leaving him behind. His scream echoes into the night. Raw. Animal. Unhinged. I press a shaking hand over my mouth. Claire speeds toward the main road. You're safe. You're safe now. But I don't feel safe. Not yet. Not even close. Because now I understand exactly what Emma meant. Exactly what Thomas meant. I didn't just expose them. I provoked them. Cornered them. And now they are feral. And I am the only thing they want. I don't remember the drive to the safe house. Claire keeps saying, you're okay, while Marcus keeps looking back at me from the passenger seat, but their voices feel far away, muffled like I'm underwater. My heartbeat doesn't calm for a long time. Not until the car pulls up to a small brick building surrounded by tall trees, the kind of place you'd never find unless someone pointed you straight to it. Claire puts the car in park. This is where you'll stay tonight, she says gently. Tomorrow we'll move you somewhere more permanent, somewhere Thomas can't locate. I hesitate before stepping out. Everything feels unreal, like a nightmare that refuses to end. Marcus puts a steadying hand on my arm. Come on. You're safe here. But when the wind brushes my neck, I flinch. Every shadow feels like it could contain him. Every sound could be footsteps. Every breath could be someone else's. Inside, the safe house smells faintly of cedar and old blankets. There's a narrow bed, a small kitchen, and a single lamp that flickers when I turn it on. Marcus helps close all the curtains. Claire checks the locks twice. Only when they're sure everything is secure do they sit with me at the tiny table. Claire leans forward. We need to talk through the next steps. I swallow hard. Is he still out there? She nods. Police units are searching. A warrant for his rearrest is already active. Then she exhales. He's running on desperation. He won't get far. I look down at my hands. They're trembling again. He came to kill me. Marcus shakes his head. No. He came to silence you. Those aren't the same thing. But both are crimes that will bury him. I don't say anything. I don't trust my voice not to crack. Claire continues. Tomorrow morning we'll finalize your protective order. It will be airtight. Judges don't play around with cases like this. I nod slowly. What about Emma? Under guard at the hospital, Claire says. She won't be going anywhere for a long time. Part of me feels relief. A heavy aching kind. Another part feels something like grief, ugly, confusing grief. Because I loved Thomas. Because I trusted him. Because I let him into my life. How can your heart break for someone who tried to end you? I don't know. But it does. When they leave me alone in the safe house, I sit on the edge of the bed and stare at the pattern in the wood floor. I listen to the quiet. The silence is different here. Still tense, still fragile, but not threatening. My hands eventually unclench. It's only then that the tears come. They come hard. Violent. Uncontrolled. I cry until I can't breathe. Until I can't see. Until the weight of everything, the betrayal, the fear, the near-death moments pours out in shaking sobs. When the tears finally subside, I lie back on the bed and tell myself I'll try to sleep. Sleep doesn't come. Morning arrives slow and gray. I sit up, wrap myself in the thin blanket, and stare at the clock ticking loudly on the wall. The safe house feels less threatening now. More like a cocoon than a hiding place. Claire and Marcus return just after 9 a.m. Claire walks in holding a stack of papers. Marcus carries coffee and a small brown paper bag. He sets the bag in front of me. Breakfast. From that little bakery you love. I open the bag. A blueberry muffin. Still warm. Tears push at the corners of my eyes again, but this time they're gentler. Thank you, I whisper. Claire places the legal documents on the table. Everything is ready once you sign. After that, you'll be untouchable. I sign slowly, my signature shaky but sure. Claire nods. Good. The judge will finalize it by noon. Then she exhales. We also have updates. I brace myself. Marcus takes a seat beside me. They found Thomas. My breath catches. Where? 2 towns over. He was hiding in an abandoned property his family used to own. He hesitates. He didn't resist arrest this time. I close my eyes. Relief washes over me, thick, warm, overwhelming relief. It feels like a chain dropping from my chest. Claire adds, he's being processed now. He'll be held without bail this time. Too dangerous. Too unpredictable. Dangerous. Unpredictable. Words I never imagined would describe the man who once brought me roses for no reason. I swallow hard. It's really over? For him. Claire says. Yes. For me. I ask. She hesitates. And Marcus puts a hand on mine. For you, he says, voice soft. It's the beginning. I look between them. The beginning of what? The beginning of getting your life back, he answers. Something inside me loosens. A tight knot I didn't realize I had been living with for months. Maybe years. We eat breakfast together at the narrow table. For the first time in a long while, I can taste my food without the metallic edge of fear. Claire talks me through next steps. Marcus makes a joke that normally wouldn't even make me smile, but today it does. I feel lighter. Not healed, but no longer hunted. After breakfast, Claire drives me to a temporary housing facility. Clean, safe, private. From there, I'll work with her to secure my assets, repair the damage Thomas caused, and reclaim my home once every legal thread has been tied. While she fills out forms at the reception desk, I sit on the bed and look out the window. The sunlight is soft and yellow, filtering through thin curtains. People walk by outside carrying groceries, talking on phones, living ordinary lives. I envy them. But I also feel something else. Hope. A small spark of it. Fragile but real. For the first time, I let myself imagine a future again. A future where I open my own doors, drink my own tea, walk in my neighborhood without looking over my shoulder, laugh without flinching, sleep without listening for footsteps. A future where my home feels like home again. Claire finishes her paperwork. Marcus hugs me goodbye, promising to return in the afternoon with clothes from my house, retrieved by police escort. When they leave, I sit alone in the quiet room and inhale slowly. I survived. I survived being hunted. I survived betrayal. I survived losing the man I thought I loved. I survived 2 attempts on my life. And I survived myself, the doubts, the guilt, the voice that kept whispering, you should have seen this sooner. I'm not sure when I'll stop hearing that voice. But for now it's softer. I lie down on the bed and close my eyes. This time sleep comes. Hours later when I wake, the sun has shifted. The room is warm. Safe. I sit up, stretch, and walk to the small table where Claire left a note. You're stronger than anything that tried to break you. See. I smile. Not a small smile. A real one. Outside, a soft breeze moves the curtains. For the first time in months, the world feels open again. For the first time in months, I feel like I belong in it. Not as prey. Not as a victim. But as someone who fought back and won. I open the window. Fresh air fills the room. I breathe it in deeply. And I whisper to myself, I'm free.